a sacred place protected for centuries. Yet history shows moments when even Muslims themselves turned their weapons toward the house of Allah. After 500 soldiers stormed Masjid al-Haram in recent times, many people were shocked. A false Mahdi appeared, chaos spread, and a declaration was made that shook the entire Muslim world. But what many don't realize is that this was not the first attack on the Kaaba, and certainly not the last. Throughout history, most attacks on the Kaaba were carried out by Muslims, not outsiders. So today, we uncover the three major assaults, the moments when the holiest site in Islam came under fire. On the first attack, the year of the elephant. The first attack took place before the birth of Prophet Muhammad. Abraham, the ruler of Yemen, built a magnificent cathedral in Sana'a and wanted all Arabs to abandon the Kaaba and worship there instead. When he realized the people still honored the Kaaba, he became furious. He assembled a massive army, 60,000 soldiers and several war elephants, including the mighty elephant Mahmud. Abraham marched toward Mecca with one goal: destroy the Kaaba and erase its importance forever. The Quraysh had no power to fight such a force. They withdrew from the city, placing their trust completely in Allah. And that is when the miracle unfolded. Allah sent flocks of birds, known as ababil, carrying stones of clay. These tiny stones struck the soldiers with such force that their bodies were destroyed instantly. Disease spread among them, and the entire army collapsed in defeat. Abraham failed miserably. Not a single stone of the Kaaba was touched. This miracle became so famous that the year became known as Aam al-Fil, the year of the elephant, the very year the Prophet was born. _______. Second attack, the burning of the Kaaba era of Yazid. The Kaaba burned for the first time during the rule of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. After he became ruler, his army brutally killed Imam Hussein, R.A., and the family of the Prophet in Karbala. The Muslim world erupted with anger and grief. Revolt spread everywhere, especially in Medina, where the Sahaba and their families expelled the Umayyad governors. Yazid responded with one of the darkest commands in history: if they refuse to accept me within 3 days, enter Medina, kill whoever you want, and loot their homes. His army invaded Medina, slaughtering many Sahaba and their children, and the survivors fled to Mecca. There, Abdullah bin Zubair R.A. stood as a leader against Yazid's tyranny. Yazid then marched toward Mecca. Abdullah bin Zubair defended the city for 40 days, but the Umayyad army could not breach the city. So they placed catapults on surrounding mountains and hurled stones and fire toward Masjid al-Haram. During the bombardment, a flaming projectile struck a nearby tent. The fire spread rapidly and reached the coverings of the Kaaba, setting it ablaze. For the first time in history, the Kaaba burned. Shortly after, news arrived. Yazid had died. His army immediately retreated, leaving the Kaaba damaged and the hearts of Muslims wounded. Abdullah bin Zubair R.A. rebuilt the Kaaba according to the original design of Prophet Ibrahim, as a structure beloved by the people. Yazid's short rule became infamous for 3 tragedies: Karbala, the attack on Medina, the burning of the Kaaba. After his death, many Muslims accepted Abdullah bin Zubair R.A. as a legitimate caliph. Third attack, Hajjaj bin Yusuf and the siege of Mecca. But peace did not last. As Abdullah bin Zubair's popularity grew, the Umayyads chose a new ruler, Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. Abdul Malik made a temporary peace treaty with the Roman Empire just to focus his forces on one goal: eliminate Abdullah bin Zubair R.A. and regain control over the Hijaz. He conquered Iraq and prepared to march toward Mecca. Most generals refused to attack the holy city, except one man with a ruthless reputation, Hajjaj bin Yusuf. Hajjaj surrounded Mecca and launched another devastating bombardment using catapults. For the second time in less than 10 years, stones struck the Kaaba. During this chaos, Abdullah bin Zubair R.A. continued praying near the Kaaba, calm and steadfast. Many of his supporters abandoned him out of fear. He visited his mother, Asma bint Abu Bakr, who encouraged him with powerful word of courage and honor. He returned to the battlefield and was martyred. Hajjaj displayed his body publicly and sent his head to Abdul Malik. He then demolished the rebuilt Kaaba and restored it to the earlier design, the same structure that stands today. Within a single decade, the Kaaba had been attacked twice, both times by Muslim rulers seeking power. Fourth attack. Almost 3 centuries later, the Muslim world faced yet another shocking moment in its history. A new extremist group emerged, one that believed they alone held the truth. They claimed that their leader was the promised Mahdi, and that anyone who refused to accept him was no longer a Muslim. This radical belief became the fuel for one of the darkest attacks ever seen in Mecca. During the sacred days of Hajj, when millions of believers gathered from every corner of the world to worship in peace, these extremists launched their brutal assault. What should have been days filled with prayer, unity, and devotion turned into a scene of terror. They stormed Mecca with unimaginable violence, killing thousands of innocent pilgrims. People who had traveled across deserts, seas, and continents, simply to answer the call of Allah, were slaughtered inside the holiest place on earth. The attackers went so far as to throw the bodies of the victims into Zamzam well, contaminating the sacred water that had flowed since the time of Prophet Ibrahim and his son Ismail. But their cruelty didn't stop there. They forced their way into the Kaaba, tore down valuables, and looted the sacred sanctuary. In an act that shook the entire Muslim world, they stole the black stone itself, the stone that every pilgrim longs to touch, the stone placed by Prophet Ibrahim and later kissed by Prophet Muhammad. The extremists carried the black stone all the way to Bahrain, where they kept it as a symbol of their rebellion. For the first time in Islamic history, the Kaaba stood incomplete, missing one of its most sacred elements. And for 22 long years, Muslims from across the world performed tawaf around a Kaaba without its black stone. Generations passed. Children grew into adults. Entire empires rose and fell. But the black stone remained missing, its absence a painful reminder of the brutality that had taken place. Finally, after intense negotiations and pressure from Muslim leaders, the black stone was returned. Though some pieces were damaged, it was restored to its place on the Kaaba, where it remains to this day. This episode became a lesson in how extremism and false beliefs can drive people to unimaginable destruction. Final attack. The last major assault on the Kaaba came in 1979, and it is remembered as one of the most dramatic and dangerous events in modern Islamic history. The years leading up to it were filled with change. Under King Faisal, Saudi Arabia introduced several major reforms. Girls' schools were open for the first time, universities expanded, and the nation launched its first television channel, something many conservative scholars disliked. They feared these changes would weaken Islamic values, and this disagreement slowly created a divide. While most scholars chose peaceful dialogue, some became angry, and their young followers drifted toward extremism. After King Faisal's assassination in 1975, the country was already shaken. Amid this atmosphere of uncertainty, a man named Jahaman al-Tabai began to spread his radical ideas. He believed that society had become corrupt and that a revolution was needed to purify Islam. Jahaman gathered a group of loyal followers, many of them young, passionate, and easily influenced. Together, they secretly trained, stored weapons, and planned something unimaginable. He chose the year 1979, a year that was already exploding with global crises. The execution of Pakistan's Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, which shocked the Muslim world. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, igniting fear of a worldwide conflict. The Iranian Revolution, which overthrew an empire and reshaped Middle Eastern politics. The world felt unstable. Nations were collapsing. Wars were beginning. And in the middle of all this chaos, Jahaman decided it was a perfect moment to strike. At the break of dawn on 1st Muharram 1400H, he and his followers carried out one of the boldest attacks in history. They smuggled weapons into the Grand Mosque, overpowered the guards, and took thousands of worshippers hostage, claiming that the new Mahdi had arrived. What followed was a 2-week siege that shocked every Muslim on earth. The holiest place in Islam had once again become a battlefield. This attack marked the final major assault on the Kaaba, a reminder that extremism can rise in any era, and that protecting the sanctity of Mecca is a responsibility shared by the entire Muslim world.